Hello and welcome to Catholic Current. From Washington, D.C., I'm Mara Moser. On Monday, September 4th, the United States will celebrate Labor Day. The chair of the Bishop's Domestic Justice and Human Development Committee has long released an annual statement on this occasion, reflecting on the dignity of work and the need to build a just economy. Archbishop Gudziak continued this tradition in this year's letter. He wrote, "Each of us is called to follow the Lord and bring glad tidings to the poor. There is still urgent work needed to exercise radical solidarity with mothers, children, and families. Let us pray and act towards this end, always listening to the Lord who fulfills glad tidings in our hearing His word each day." Julie Bodner, USCCB Policy Advisor, joined Catholic Current to discuss the need for radical solidarity with working families. Thank you, Julie, for joining us here on Catholic Current. The Labor Day statement this year talks about radical solidarity with mothers, families. What does this mean in the context of Labor Day?
Yeah, so in his statement, Archbishop Gudziak draws our attention to a letter that was written about a year ago by chairmen of several USCCB committees that calls for radical solidarity with women, children, and families. And this is a call to build an authentically life-affirming society, to truly prioritize the well-being of families and to generously welcome new life. So as a way to do this, the USCCB has long supported policies and programs that support families, whether that's affordable housing or nutrition assistance or a social safety net, and of course, justice for workers. So this work isn't new for the Church, but Archbishop Gudziak in this statement is really emphasizing its importance, and protecting the well-being of women and children and families really overlaps with issues of labor, right? So we must support working families, and we must ensure that work life supports family life. So Labor Day is a great time to be talking about all of this.
What is the role of the economy in Catholic social teaching, and how are we measuring up?
Yeah, so the role of the economy, the purpose of the economy is to help families thrive. So the economy should be ordered to support the family, and work must be adapted to the needs of the family. And as to how we're measuring up to all of this, there's more work that needs to be done to support families. The headlines are telling us that the economy is improving, but we know that families are still struggling. They're struggling to save. A report by the Federal Reserve shows that families feel worse off this year than they did a year ago. So we must really work to reorient the economy towards the family, and that's a big task.
What are some policies that would help this situation?
Yeah, so the good news is that we have seen some policy progress in this space already. For example, last year Congress passed a law to protect the rights of nursing mothers to pump to express milk at work. So that was encouraging, and we're seeing a lot of talk on both sides of the aisle and interest in policies that support families. So we want to see more of that, and Archbishop Gudziak is calling for continued bipartisan support for solutions to problems that affect families. And so this would include strengthening the child tax credit, making sure that it's reaching the lowest income families. It can include national support for paid family leave, and it can include finding a solution to the child care crisis. And these are just some ideas of where we can go with policy solutions.
What are some ways that people at home, in addition to legislation and advocating at home, what are some things they can do to help?
Yeah, so of course we want to see people advocate for policies that support families, sign up for our action alerts, get involved, talk to your members of Congress. But policy change is very important, but it's not the only way that we can help families thrive. This statement also calls attention to the fact that community organizing is an important tool. So through the work of the Catholic Campaign for Human Development, the Church supports and empowers local communities who are coming together to address problems facing families, whether that's the need for childcare or affordable housing or just wages. So communities really do have power when they come together to create positive change. And the statement also talks about the power of unions, to bring workers together to improve their situation, to help ensure that work serves the family, and to help advocate for the most vulnerable. So when unions are playing this role, this work needs to be supported and encouraged.
Thank you very much for joining us on Catholic Current, Julie. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You can read Archbishop Gudziak's letter and check out resources on labor, work, and the economy at USCCB's website. In 2015, Pope Francis instituted September 1st as the World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation, as a way to encourage the faithful to pray for our common home. Pope Francis's message for this year focused on the theme, "Let Justice Flow." He called on the faithful to heal our common home by resolving to transform our hearts, our lifestyles, and public policy. Ricardo Simmons, Environmental Policy Advisor for the USCCB, spoke with Catholic Current about the Pope's message.
For this year, Pope Francis invited us to reflect on the theme of justice and peace based on this passage of the prophet Amos. And certainly he invited us to approach this, or how to live this out, in three ways: a change of heart, a change of lifestyle, and a change of public policy. And in these different areas, there are things all of us can do to live out the season of creation. With the change of lifestyle, the invitation for this year is to live out modesty and moderation. Certainly the consumptive culture that we live in, where we're invited to be consumers and purchase more and more, has an impact on the environment. We can remember the message of Laudato Si is that the problem isn't too many people in the world. It's those who use more resources than they really need. And we can all live out the invitation in the spirit of Francis of Assisi of modesty and moderation within, of course, our own context. So that's something that certainly is pertinent to many of us who are consumers today. And finally, the change of public policy. And there was a clear message that fossil fuels have an impact on climate change and that we need to change. This has been echoed by the US bishops for an energy revolution, where we really need to transform our energy systems and ask our elected officials and participate in public life, calling for a transformation where we don't pollute as much as we have been in the past. It's unsustainable.
September 1st also begins a season of creation lasting until the feast of Saint Francis of Assisi on October 4th. Pope Francis announced this week that he would publish a new exhortation on that date as a follow-up to Laudato Si.
The day after tomorrow, September 1st, we celebrate the World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation, inaugurating the season of creation that will last until October 4th, the feast of Saint Francis of Assisi. On that date, I plan to publish an exhortation, a second Laudato Si. Let us join our Christian brothers and sisters in the commitment to care for creation as a sacred gift from the Creator. We must stand with the victims of environmental and climate injustice, striving to end the senseless war on our common home. It's a world war. It's just terrible. I urge everyone to work and pray for it to abound with life once again.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Catholic Current. You can find out more about any of this week's topics by visiting us online at usccb.org or follow us on social media at USCCB. I'm Mara Moser. See you next week.